Happy Wednesday and a happy start to the new year for everyone. I hope for everybody watching, January has been a successful one so far. This one's dedicated to the salon owners as well as the resort owners who have on-site grooming. You don't know me, or if this is your first time tuning in to one of these, my name is Billy Stein. I manage partnerships at Mogo, and I'll be moderating this evening's webinar. If this is your first time learning about Mogo, our mission is to be the operating system of the pet services industry. And tonight we're talking about growth in the form of hiring a new groomer to your salon. This evening's discussion will include the indicators your staff is stretched, when headcount increase is imminent, what makes up the DNA of a great groomer, how to find a great groomer, and how to set the groomer up for success once they join your staff. As always, before we jump in, this webinar is being recorded and we'll post the webinar afterward on our YouTube channel at Mogo, so you can rewatch it or share with your team if you please. If you have any questions, please don't wait till the end. Drop them right there in that chat along with the temperatures and where you're calling in from. And I'll be keeping track of the questions and make sure that our panel has time to answer them during the Q&A portion. Now, I'm excited to be joined by tonight's panelists. First, hailing from what we've already determined is a frozen Nashville, Brandy
Mhm.
Reese, who's a certified master groomer and account representative from Paragon Pet School. Brandy, thanks for making time to join in. Why don't you tell us about yourself?
Well, happy to be here. Happy that I actually have electricity and can be here because there's a lot of us here in Nashville that still don't have electricity. I am a certified master groomer. I have been grooming dogs for over 3 decades. This is actually my 31st year. I do work full time for Paragon, but I still groom dogs on Saturdays because I love it so much. In addition to being a salon manager for several large boarding and daycare facilities here in Nashville, and have a large staff that I've had to manage, I've also owned my own businesses, both brick and mortar and mobile. Now, for the past 3 years, or actually 3.5 years, I've worked for Paragon initially as a mentor, working directly with the students. And now I work as their account representative, working with individuals that are interested in learning to groom, and then with business owners that are looking for ways to expand their staffing and grow their team.
Thanks for being here. I'm so glad you could brave it out for us. Now, also joining Brandy is Melinda Stanford, Mogo Community Ambassador, Mogo Event Manager, Mogo Super Cheerleader, and also owner of Bark and Bone in Hamilton County, Indiana. Melinda, I got to be honest, it's a little weird that you and I are not standing in a trade show booth together right now to be able to have this conversation, but can you tell everybody about yourself?
Of course. So I'm actually from VetMed. I'm an RVT from California, relocated to Indiana about 6 years ago. And 3 years ago, I got bored of raising 4 children. So me and my husband purchased an existing salon with a retail space. We just signed a lease, I think, a couple days ago, officially moving forward with expanding our brick and mortar. And we also launched a mobile van about 3 weeks ago. So I love to say I thrive off chaos. I am nowhere near as talented as Brandy. I label myself the world's worst groomer, but I did learn how to groom just to learn how to run my business, and I can groom an Afghan hound. I'll hold on to that, but I can't do a poodle. Nope. Don't give me your poodle. But yeah, it's been a journey. I'm 3 years in and looking forward to the future. And then I've been with Mogo for now 2 years, started as an ambassador, just grown into it, and now travel coast to coast with Billy at all the trade shows, and just absolutely fell in love with this industry.
Well, apparently we brought you the best and apparently we brought you the worst. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Now, in this section, we're going to be talking about hiring for growth, not necessarily hiring a backfill to handle a departing employee or a departed employee. But when you think about growth, Brandy, I'd love to throw this to you first. Can you talk us through some of the indicators that you look to determine that you need to hire a groomer?
Sure. One of the biggest indicators for me is that phone that is ringing every day. How many clients are you turning away every single day? How much money are you leaving on the table? Now, for me, that I have kind of a threshold of if I am losing $300 a day. Now, let me explain that $300 number. Here in Nashville, like I said, I still groom. My small dogs that I can get done in about an hour are usually $100. So that would be me turning away 3 dogs a day. If it's just a couple of dogs a day, I can probably work them into a schedule somewhere. But if it's over 3 dogs a day, then that's probably where I'm leaving too much money on the table. You can do the math. If it's, I'm losing 300, turning away $300 a day times 5 days a week times, a full month, it's about $6,000 that you're saying, oh, I don't want your money, go somewhere else. And then the other side of that too is, I've always paid my groomers a commission rate of usually 50%. I know that works for some and not for others, but if it's roughly $300 a day in sales that I'm turning away, that would be $150 commission that I could be paying a groomer. And a part-time groomer would probably be open to coming and working for $150 a day. So that's just kind of, the phone ringing and the kind of calls that you're getting. And the other thing also is, and Melinda, I know will, because she has retail, will speak on this a bit more about being staffed when you're open. If you own a boarding and daycare facility, if you have dogs going home every day, it would be a good time to have groomers on staff that are able to bathe and groom those dogs before they go home. So Melinda, your retail is open 7 days a week. Is your salon 7 days a week as well?
Yeah, that's correct. I have grooming 7 days a week. I look at things a little bit differently. So I look at a table, and if the table's empty and there's not a groomer grooming, I'm losing revenue. So I have a few more tables. I think I have 6 grooming tables and 3 drying tables because I do have bathers. So I am looking to onboard a groomer if I ever have an existing client call in and my staff says we cannot accommodate a bath and brush. That tells me that I have a capacity issue. If I'm booked more than 2 weeks out, I start looking at bringing somebody on because, again, I'm a little bit of a larger salon to where I'm looking at the bigger picture. So that's kind of what I look when I'm starting to hire.
Maybe a question, and I'm all about oversimplification, but so when you look at it as a loss of revenue number or even like an empty table number, do y'all have a belief that maybe one's more important than the other? Or are they both valid ways to think about it?
I think they're
Well,
both valid.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Ideally, every table would be full, like Melinda says.
Yeah.
However, if your sales are not built up enough where you can have a groomer at every table, it's kind of just weighing out. Okay, are we going to have people on payroll that aren't really, their sales aren't high enough? But both, it's valid either way to look at it. It really is.
Okay, awesome. And do you think that, Brandy, you started talking about it a little bit, and some folks that are attending this evening are running grooming salons, some run pet resorts that also have a grooming unit and may need to add on grooming as they go. Uh, do you think the loss of revenue is the key, or do you think it's maybe just about making sure that they're open all the time? I want to make sure that everybody here has a playbook for the way they might think about staffing up.
Honestly, I think it's more important to be open more, simply because everyone works different work schedules. You want that
Yeah.
availability for the client that needs to, someone may need work, after work hours. Someone may need to come in on Sunday. I myself, like I said, I work for Paragon during the week, and I also work on Saturday still. So that leaves my Sunday as the day that I need to get things done. So to me, it's really important to be fully staffed on the days that you're open, and ideally 7 days a week would be best.
I
Yeah.
want to tag on that, that if you have a daycare and boarding facility, I have retail. Every retail customer can potentially be a grooming customer, and every grooming customer can potentially be a retail customer. So it's almost like you have multiple streams of revenue at your single location. So I think, every daycare and boarding should definitely have grooming on staff because that right there is an add-on that you could easily increase, the price per ticket per pet. You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome. And these are really important ways to think about this discussion and just making sure that you're looking for ways to identify that there is a hole in the organization a groomer can fill.
Looking at indicators, another great tool that it's actually offered by Mogo is that you can look at the KPIs on the reports and you can look at the capacity of your groomers. And I want to say if my groomers are working above 90%, that tells me that I need to start hiring somebody else on, because I want to avoid burnout. I don't look to have my groomers staffed 100%. This is a very physically demanding job. I want them to be around the 80. When they start, everyone's, 85, 90, that tells me that, they're all pushing themselves. We have the demand. Let's bring somebody else on.
Brandy, any thoughts on that?
I agree. Prevent the burnout. It is an industry where there is a lot of burnout. So yeah, I mean, Melinda, you're taking care of your groomers and you're absolutely correct.
That's great. And we don't want to burn anybody out and we want to attract great talent. And I want to segue into talking about that. You know, every business thinks a little bit differently. Every small town and big city move differently. Every customer speaks differently. But there's a collision point that brings the entire industry together, and that's the fact that grooming in your salon is experiential. Grooming's an experience for both pets and pet parents, and bringing in good workers creates lifetime clients. Now, you've both shared great stories with me about some of the groomers that you've hired. I'm going to start with you this time, Melinda. What are the most important traits of great groomers in your eyes?
Okay, you know where I have to go with this is
Of course, that's why I
I
came to you
have to
first for
tell
this.
I
Yeah.
have to tell the story. And I told her today at work, I was like, I'm going to be talking about you tonight. This was back in 2023 when we were hiring for a receptionist. I was like 9 months postpartum. We were pretty new into the business and we were figuring things out, barely keeping our heads above water and really needed a receptionist. And this girl showed up and was presentable. So I immediately wanted to offer her the job. And my husband was texting me like, no, 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 there's this other person coming in who has food experience. And I think that's going to be fantastic for like, because grooming is a customer service. It's all about the experience.
Mhm.
And I was really angry because I just wanted to hire this other person. But she came in and she was lovely. And she worked front desk for me for like a month or two. And then she started showing up on, like, I was there on a Sunday and she was bathing dogs. And I was like, what do you do? And she's like, I really think I want to learn how to bathe. And I was like, okay, we'll train you how to bathe. And the next thing I know, I see her like, learning how to use the clipper vac. And I was like, what's going on here? And she was like, I really, really think that this is what I want to do. So we invested in her. We trained her up, and I'm so proud of her that she is no longer a junior groomer at my salon. She is just a groomer. She has fantastic numbers. She gets fantastic reviews. And like we were closed for a couple days for the snowstorm, and she was like texting me like, "Are we open? I want to come back to work." So it's one of the things that like we didn't hire just based on her talent. We hired based on her personality. She showed up, she worked hard. We knew that she was going to be fantastic with the customers. She loved animals and dogs so much that she actually owns a golden retriever bred by me as well. Like it's it's just become this story. And I look at her grooms, and we have before and after grooms from when she was training too, where they were a little rough, and now they're beautiful. And I was like, look at how far you've come, and so that's to me the traits of a great groomer is I focus on the culture fit and the personality. I think grooming there is definitely a talent to it. I also think that you can train it. I think people can be taught how to groom to where I would prioritize somebody who is a better culture fit versus somebody who already, went to grooming school and says like I'm ready out the gate. Like, yeah, that'd be nice not to have to train somebody, but if they're not going to be a good culture fit, that's going to be a concern for me.
We got an anonymous question, Melinda. As the world's worst groomer, self-admittedly, is this recruit of yours now a better groomer than you?
Oh hell yeah. like zero hesitation. Like I yeah. No, she actually, fun fact that I will say now is I focus on operations and scaling the business. She grooms my dogs for me now.
Wow, the
So,
highest
so
compliment.
except for the Afghan. I'm the only one who grooms the Afghan. But she does my Goldens, and like I said, we own litter mates, so we go to dog shows and competitions together. And when I have a dog show, I'm so busy. I'm like, "Hey, can you groom my dog?" And she's like, "On it." So she does show grooms, and yes, she is way better than me.
Amazing. Brandy, how about you? Any traits of a great groomer that you think are really important for anybody looking for a groomer to consider?
Well, at Paragon, all day, every day, you'll hear us say hire for fit and culture, because, like Melinda says, that is really the most important thing. I don't care how good of a groomer you are. If you are difficult to work with, or toxic, or unreliable, I'm not going to hire you. So you need to hire for that personality, those great customer service skills, the person that will show up when they're supposed to, actually for their shift. They need to treat the clients well. They need to treat the dogs well. You have to treat them with kindness always. And like Melinda says, now to me, if it's an experienced groomer, the work that they perform does need to be neat and tidy. But you can always upskill. One of the things that we do here at Paragon, working with employers, not only can we take someone that has no grooming experience and train them from I've never even trimmed a toenail, all the way up to full hand scissor grooms, but you can also take that groomer that checks every single box, and just the personality is great, and oh, they're so sweet to the dogs, and they're just perfect, but their grooms are a little so-so. You can actually, with Paragon, you can use us for continuing education, and we can polish their grooms and get them up where they need to be. We can upskill them for you. So, be willing to invest in your people, as long as that personality is there. They're definitely worth it. And like I say, as long as the soft skills are there, we can teach the hard skills. We can teach the grooming skills. That's easy. That's easy.
And I think that's so important because as the one person here on this panel that's never groomed a dog before, or had to hire somebody to do so, I do think that there's something to, you talk about, Brandy, investing in people, and Melinda, you talk about the growth orientation. It's about finding people that invest in themselves too.
Mhm.
And as we come into this next part where we're actually going to be talking about, how to screen out a good candidate, I think it's equally important, no matter whether it's somebody you're interviewing for a tech sales job or for a grooming job, people have to want to invest in themselves too. And I think that's something that can be found and be very authentic when they present themselves. And shifting into that, I want to talk about the screening process because I think this is one of the most important parts of this evening's conversation. And I think anyone who's ever been misled by a candidate that they interviewed, who interviewed really well and didn't live up to their commitments in the job, has probably rightfully second guessed their hiring practices. So we exploring the entire process tonight. Brandy, starting from the beginning, where are the best places to post a job opening, and what's the ideal process for hiring grooming talent?
Well, I would say that Indeed.com is probably where most pet groomers are looking for job openings. Just industry wide, I don't know why we shifted to Indeed.com, but we did. So I would post an ad on Indeed.com. Many years ago, my opening line was always "Come work for the best." And I would explain why we're the best, all the awards that we had won and all the benefits that we offer. So, like I say, start with Indeed.com. Really sell yourself in that ad. Make those groomers reading that want to come work for you, come work for the best. Then when they submit their resume, I always like to have them submit a portfolio. With a lot of groomers, they'll actually use Instagram as their online portfolio. So I like to look at the dogs. And if the dogs look, like I say, neat and tidy, we don't have to be perfect. We do not have to be perfect. Then the next thing I'm going to do, and this is something a lot of employers don't do, but if things go horribly wrong, it's a good lesson to learn, is please check your references. Please check references. I know that you are, as an employer, you're very limited when someone calls for a reference check with what you can say. However, if I have a resume in my hands and I'm going down the list and I'm calling former employers, When I ask the question, are they eligible for rehire? If I hear, oh no, absolutely not, no way, several times, then honestly, I'm not even going to go any further with the candidate. Now, if everyone says, oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, I would rehire them in a heartbeat, then I will go on and do an interview with them, meet them in person, see how their people skills are. And if all of that checks out, then we'll actually do a technical groom where I'll have them come in, groom a dog, see where their skills are at, see what their animal handling skills are like, and just kind of, and also with that technical assessment, you get to see how they're going to interact with the other groomers and kind of what the whole vibe is in the shop, and just see if everything meshes and works well. So yeah, but it all starts with Indeed. So that's my best advice.
I have one question for you, Brandy, and then I want to get Melinda's
Okay.
take on her process.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Uh, you had mentioned when checking references, there are
Mhm.
limitations. And
Yes.
currently on this call, we have nearly 50 people.
Mhm.
And at Mogo, our end users, anybody that's using Mogo on a daily basis, they could be a few weeks out from starting their business, from actually opening, or they could be 30 years in business and still going pretty strong and still growing. But I want to make sure for anybody because reference checks may not be a routine practice. It might not be something that a small business owner has to do too often, especially if they have good retention. What are some of those limitations that you mentioned on reference checks to make sure that nobody who's here asks the wrong thing on a reference check?
I keep it pretty basic. I want to confirm the dates that they worked there. I want to confirm whether they're eligible for rehire or not, and then also their rate of pay, if they were hourly, what that is, or if they were commission, what that is. I'm always a little scared to ask. You can't really ask anything personal. You really can't. It's got to be things that are just factual and just did they work there? What was their job title? I would feel comfortable asking that. What were what was their hire date and their date of separation? And like I say, would you rehire this person? That's really honestly, the rest is kind of not even, it's all would you rehire for me. Melinda, I'm sure has, may have a different opinion, but yeah, I'm big on the reference check and the, would you rehire this person or not? So,
So, Melinda, would love to hear your take. And there's a couple of really good questions too that are in the chat that will.
I'm seeing these questions, but first I'm going to go through
Yeah,
how I
please.
hire. So I'm going to talk about two ways of that. I'm very much like Brandy that I used Indeed. I stalk their social media and their Instagrams, to check their vibes. I do add in before I check their references. I've started adding in a Zoom call to just see like what are they like on person, like talking. Can they hold a conversation professionally? Then I check references. I do an in-person interview and then a technical assessment. I will call out that I have gotten a couple groomers that are still with me through me sniping them. And so what I mean by that is there is a grooming school. We were just talking about this in the salon because I have like three groomers that I kind of joke that I've never seen their resumes. But there is two grooming schools near me, and I follow their Facebook pages. And when they post a graduation photo, I look at who has liked this photo. And I check their profiles and then I match faces to the graduation photo. And I have found some of these people, like my mobile groomer, super skilled, like just Brandy, I'm going to say raw talent, like minimal training, like just had the raw talent. So
natural.
I reached out to her and I was like, "Hey, do you want to work for me?" And she did. And she still works for me. And that was my very first hire. I got that way too because she posted on a Facebook forum like, "Hey, I'm interested in competitive grooming. Can anybody help me?" And I was like, "I have no idea, but I would love to help support you to achieve this goal." And I'm really proud to say I have helped her compete in two competitions now. Bark and Bone has sponsored her to compete. So yes, there is Indeed, and there's also just with groomers, there's also just social media. I've
Mhm.
never posted to like my business site that we are hiring, but I will check the groups. Like I'm based in Indiana and we have a very active Indiana groomers group. So like
Mhm.
I will always check and look if there's talent out there and if there's someone interested because we're always looking for talent. So same processes, just one is Indeed and one
Mhm.
is Melinda being a creeper almost, I guess you could say. Um, but with both, I check their profile. I then do a Zoom. I then check references. We do an interview and then a technical assessment.
So, and I think this is important because I want to get to some of the comments and questions that have come up in the chat, but uh, you're both in, I mean, Melinda in the Indianapolis area, that's a pretty good sized city. Brandy, Nashville is a pretty big city.
Mhm.
Maybe not quite as big as Sydney, Australia, where I know we have an attendee from, or a little bit bigger than shout out St. Augustine, Florida. It's where my mom lives. But you do have to think about your area, and Indeed is everywhere, Facebook
Mhm.
is everywhere, Instagram's everywhere. So one thing I can recommend here is no stone left unturned. But while we're talking about posting specifically, John Badgley, I hope I pronounced that right, asks, after Indeed, what's your number two hiring platform?
Hmm. I would,
Honestly, go ahead, Melinda. I'm sorry.
I was like, I think it's just Indeed, and then it would be um, me reaching out through social media.
Okay.
In like I said, in Indiana, we have an Indiana group statewide, and there's always talent. Probably about once a week now. Like, hey, is anyone hiring here? Is anyone hiring here? So it's a really easy way for me specifically to find somebody.
Okay.
Um, so Brandy, maybe you have a recommendation on somewhere else?
Well, actually, social media for sure. Here in Nashville, we do have a lot of groomer groups. Now, here's the catch with a lot of them here in Nashville. They're closed and they're only for groomers. A business owner that is a non-groomer is not going to be allowed in there, which means that your current groomers that already work for you kind of need to do a little footwork for you in those closed groomer groups. But if you have some loyal employees that love working there, they're really good if they can go on those local groomer groups on Facebook and say, hey, I work at so and so, we're looking to hire a new groomer, it's a great place to work. So that's very helpful. And then your own social media. I have been known to go on, on social media and say, hey, and I know a lot of our social media is targeted to our customers. But you know what? Other groomers are also looking at your social media. We're looking at those dogs that your groomers are doing. So even post on your own social media, on your own Facebook of, hey, like I said, come work for the best. And
Brandy,
just, do it that way. Uh-huh. Go
Brandy,
ahead, Billy.
sorry to cut you off.
Sure.
Shout out Kevin Klingham. He actually said if your salon is modern and professionally designed, social media on point and located in the
Mhm.
right building, you won't need to advertise. Candidates will come to you or referred by somebody else.
I
I
was just about to
Such a
say,
good
Brandy,
point.
you
Yeah.
kind of nailed it. So I'm also going to go off on a very small tangent, Billy. I'm sorry, but I had a groomer that I hired in October of 2022. She gave me like a 7 week notice that she was leaving in September. Um, so she made this. I hope I'm going to make her watch this recording. But she like it was like a big farewell. She made this long social media post. It was probably one of our most engaging posts on our Bark and Bone website. And it popped up on my feed like 3 days ago, and I was like, haha, that didn't last long. She started with me back in January. She left. She went somewhere else, and then she looks at me. She's like, I needed to leave to know what I had, and she came back. And not only did she come back, but she came back with, like, hey, I know this person that's also looking for an opportunity. So it's completely right that like when you're looking for talent, if you're running a strong business, if you have a good brand, if you take care of your employees, groomers, this industry talks.
We sure
It's a
do.
very small industry. And then you're
Mhm.
going to have people that want to work for you. And then you'll have your pipeline almost all the time because people are like, oh, I heard Brandy's salon is so nice. And,
Mhm.
oh, Melinda's salon, they get free dog food because they have retail. It's all these little things that
Mhm.
the community talks about, but then you're naturally just attracting the talent.
Right.
All great points. And we've got several other questions. I'm going to keep us moving here, but don't worry, we've cataloged
Oh,
everything.
what?
We got the
Wait, did you
Q&A.
see? We have we have Charlene. I am a self-taught groomer. What are some great online grooming schools to look out for?
Randy,
Uh,
any ideas?
Well, that would be Paragon School of Pet Grooming. We have been in business for over 3 decades. We are all online. And I believe at the end, we'll actually have a QR code that you may want to scan, and you can actually schedule a call with me, and I can go over on the phone with you all the ways that Paragon will elevate your grooming skills and take you to the next level.
You are really making my job easy. And
I love
I will
Paragon.
moderate as you
I
do
love
so.
Paragon.
So do we. Melinda, I'm going to keep it moving. Everything from the Q&A portion we'll get to during Q&A, I
okay,
promise.
okay.
But I do
I
want
see.
to,
I see Chris on there, and good job, Chris. You're right.
all right. So you've done it. You got the candidate you want. They're starting at the salon. Melinda, I want to throw this first question to you. How do you make sure that you get your employees set up for long-term success? It sounds like you've had quite a bit of success and a lot of longevity. Let us know.
It's it's been a learning curve, so I want everyone to know that I was not as strong at onboarding 3 years ago as I am now. But having super clear expectations with timelines, with revenue goals, with dogs, with hours, having everything in writing as clear as can be for your employee is extremely important. If you have any perks, such as we have a tool allowance, we have PTO, we have we pay for all sharpening, all these perks. You want to make sure you have it in writing so that the employee is fully aware of what to expect from you, as well as you know what you can expect from them. I make everything just handbooks. I'm going to say handbooks, handbooks, handbooks. We just switched to Gusto for our payroll, and I'm really enjoying it because when we change a policy, we can email it out to all our team members and we make them sign it immediately and it saves it to their file. So we just updated an attendance policy to try and give our employees more store credit. And they all acknowledged it and signed it. So making sure that they know what you expect, as well as holding them accountable. And what I mean by this is if they are not meeting your expectations, I tried to say before you write somebody up, before you exit them, you need to determine are they coachable? And most people are. Most people don't understand or they're not even aware if they're not meeting your expectations. So having a conversation with subjective and objective goals of, hey, I need you to hit this revenue number as well as I need to see more report cards go out for a better customer experience. Setting goals with your employees to onboard them smoothly is, I think, the key. Just everything needs to be as clear as possible. You can't have the like handshake deals. You can't have the we'll figure it out. Um, you need to make sure that it's clear for your team. Handbooks. Make a handbook.
And no matter how small the business is, I don't care if it's just you and two other people. Boundaries are good, and it's great to have everything in writing. That way, there's no misunderstandings. No, well, I thought you said, or well, didn't you mean? So, like I say, no matter how small the business is, please have a handbook, please.
Any other items aside from a handbook? Anything that you want to talk about here?
I do think it's important, once the groomer is onboarded, we want to prevent burnout and we want to do everything that we can to support our employees. There's different ways that you can invest in your employees. You can offer them different benefits as far as, pay time off, which is something that unfortunately a lot of salons are not able to offer. If you are, please give your employees paid time off to help prevent burnout so they can rest and reset. And also, again, going back to what we do with Paragon, continuing education, upskill your employees constantly. You want an employee that is always learning and always curious and always seeking to better themselves. So invest in your employees. Like I say, you can send them to us at Paragon, and we would love you forever. Or you can, go to the trade shows and conferences and attend classes, and there are training webinars online. But just constantly invest in your people and always elevate them every way that you can.
Love that. We have so many questions in the Q&A coming up here, so I'm gonna hop it over. If there's anything we didn't cover here, guys, please keep throwing them in. But I'm just gonna go down the line here, and we're not gonna miss anybody. Everybody's questions are getting covered. Uh, Kimberly asks, where do you find a good groomer? Shops en masse have a reputation to use people when they're busy, then say, we don't have any dogs for you, so you will quit. I am looking for a partner to grow my business.
Mm.
So what I would say with that is I build a brand, like my team will hustle for me because I have built that loyalty because as Brandy has said, like I invest in my team. They go to trade shows. I pay the tool sharpening. So I think if you are looking to grow your business, you need to first look at what do you want your brand to represent? Come out with what is your vibe? What is your verbiage? What is the image that you want to portray for your business. And then if you're looking for a partner, you need to make sure that their goals align with yours and then hustle. Like my mobile groomer, like brand new, she hustled and did field marketing to help grow the mobile because she believes in the brand.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that fully answers your question. Saying we don't have any dogs for you, that tells me that there's opportunities in marketing to try and get new clients, um, capture new leads. That's something I'm going to say that like is new with Mogo that I'm absolutely freaking in love with. Is that anybody who goes to my online booking becomes a lead, and I am calling them. And I learned that from Chris, who's on this webinar. But like I'm calling that person as soon as possible to try and be like, hey, I noticed that you started booking an appointment and didn't finish. What can I do to help? And, it's not a high percentage rate of leads that I capture and I get booked, but it's some. It's better than nothing. So coming up with a workflow and a marketing strategy and make sure that you do have enough dogs, I think is really important.
Let's keep pushing. I'm gonna hit a couple. By the way, everybody, we're gonna get to all your questions, but I'm gonna go for a couple of the quick ones that have been asked about Paragon. Felix Estrada wants to know, does Paragon do cat training?
We do not do cat grooming training at all. We are the experts in dog grooming. However, if you are interested in learning to groom cats, there is quite a demand for that. A lot of dog groomers are not cat groomers. And actually, on Paragon, on our partners page, we have partnered with the National Cat Groomers Institute. It's ran by Danelle German, and they are top notch in their cat groomer training. You can't beat them. So National Cat Groomers Institute would be who I would go to for cat groomer training.
Okay. Zoo wants to know, does Paragon have students we can hire after completing the grooming program?
Unfortunately, at this time, we don't maintain a job board. It's just not something that we're looking at doing at this time. And honestly, being transparent, a lot of our students are put through Paragon by their employer, and we want to protect the employer's investment in their student. Um, so it's just like it's just not something that we're interested in right now.
Okay. Understood. Carrie wants to know, mental health is a major issue over here. How do you test for that? And I want to start by saying that legally, most of the time, you're not allowed to approach this. So I want everybody who's listening to be very careful and make sure you do a little research on what your labor laws are for your state or for your local area so that you don't end up in a situation where you ask the wrong question in an interview and that ends up going very wrong for you. Having said that, Brandy, Melinda, when you think about the mental health of the individuals that you do work with, are there any things that you can screen out? Are there any subtle cues that you can look at for acute mental health challenges?
I would not say there's any subtle
Yeah,
Yeah,
cues, but
sorry.
but
This one's a really tough one, Carrie.
yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm gonna say is that I do this is new. I do I believe it's 30-day evaluations So, like when I first hire on any employee, they're on a 30-day probation period. And then after that 30 days, we do like an evaluation. We usually tell them where they're doing good and where, there's opportunities for improvement. And then we kind of give them a 6-month goal. So, this doesn't exactly answer your question, Carrie, but it's almost like giving yourself a little bit of a guard net of I don't let them have the PTO. Their PTO does not start accruing until they've completed 30 days. They don't get their store credit until they've completed 30 days. It's a little bit of a period to protect myself to make sure that they're a good fit. Because just like everyone, I have had bad hires that I've hired and have either had to been exited within days or weeks or just quit within days or weeks. So that is a new policy that I created to just try and protect ourselves. I also check in with our team every 6 months. We do one-on-ones with each team member. And this is just, again, it's not directed at mental health, but it's an opportunity for them to provide feedback to us on what's going good or what can we improve on, as well as we give them those objective and subjective goals. Doesn't exactly answer your question, but good guardrails and boundaries to put in to just check on your team.
Yeah, and one more time, just to tie a knot on this, be super careful about how you address that question with your employees. On that same note, though, we do have a question about one-on-one meetings, Melinda. You said you do have them. What's the frequency? Is it just every 6 months? Do you have them with more frequency?
So it's every 6 months. It's relatively new. So I want to say I do have a manager within my salon. So I am letting her lead all these one-on-ones with each of the team members. We have a rubric of we let the team members self-evaluate themselves as well as, me and my manager evaluate them. And then we give each team member subjective and objective goals. So areas for improvement, as well as like just kudos, good jobs. So we started with our groomers, then we moved that on to our bathers, and then now we're going through our front desk. And then we're setting check-in dates for 6 months from these reviews to make sure that it continues. And we keep everything, because it's also, I want to say it's an opportunity for our team members to give us feedback of like, hey, bathing isn't flowing smoothly, like efficiency seems to be down. What's up? Or hey, I'm having a hard time hitting my revenue goals. Like, what can I do? Should I increase my online booking? It's an opportunity to get feedback from our team.
A subjective but an important question. And as I phrase this, for everybody who's here, if you missed Brandy's intro, Brandy works 5 days a week full time at Paragon and then grooms like 8 dogs a day on Saturdays. So
Mm-hmm.
we definitely have the marathon runner crowd here. How many dogs per day or when is it potential that burnout starts? And when we think about hiring and we think about nurturing, we obviously want longevity from the team that we hire in. So, how do you think about burnout for your employees?
Well, and with burnout, you can't really say how many dogs per day because there's a big difference in grooming a Shih Tzu that was groomed 4 weeks ago and has a short haircut and a wonderful disposition and a wonderful pet owner versus 100-pound Saint Bernedoodle that last saw a hairbrush 6 months ago. So it's hard to say, oh, well, at 6 dogs a day, you're not going to get burned out, or at 8 dogs a day, you're definitely going to get burned out. To me, what is going to be more important is to make sure throughout your day, first of all, if you must take your breaks, take your lunch breaks. As groomers, we'll just eat a sandwich at the table. No, you can't do that. You have to practice self-care. You have to know when to, if you've got a dog on the table that's acting up, it's okay to put that dog up, go take a walk outside and take 15, 20 minutes to yourself. So it's important that you're not overbooked. Now, if every single day, I call it being in a jog to get the dogs done. If I have sweat pouring down my back because I'm having to move so fast to get the dog on my table done before the next dog, because I work express appointments where I work the dogs all the way through, and different groomers work dogs differently, but I complete one dog before I move on to the next, and the dogs are there only an hour. But if I've overbooked myself and I'm in an absolute jog to get these dogs done, I don't have a minute to get something to drink. I forget eating something. That's going to burn me out quicker than anything, is that daily stress and feeling that I'm running behind and I'm not able to do my best job. So don't look at it as number of dogs. Look at it as your stress level during the day and what you're doing to take care of yourself during the day. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Okay.
We don't focus on dogs because kind of like Brandy said, we focus on like a daily revenue goal for our team because that giant Bernedoodle is going to cost significantly more than that regular Shih Tzu that comes in every 4 weeks. So when our team starts having really high revenue days, and I do pay hourly, and when I notice somebody is hitting overtime, every week, or they're clocking out late, or they're not taking lunches, that's when I step in and I'm like, hey, like, what's going on? Are you okay? Because we want to avoid that at all costs.
And I'll throw one thing in here for everybody as we've already addressed. I'm the individual that's never groomed a dog before in my life, but I think about burnout and it parallels with frustration. And when we're frustrated in the workplace, it is very easy when you have one bad day or when you have an hour where you can't see straight to defer immediately to I am burnt out and I can't do this anymore. And one of the themes that I'm catching a lot, and even in some of the questions that we're still going to get to that show that a lot of the people that are in this room care about your employees, there is a difference between burnout and frustration. And if someone comes to you, it's very fair for you to ask, are you burnt out or are you frustrated? I look at frustration as I'm having a bad day or I'm having a bad minute or a bad hour or some bad packet of time. Burnout is I require more time to mentally prepare to come to work every day than it actually takes me to focus and lock in and do the job at a high level. And so when you think about burnout, it is not only a completely fair question for you to ask somebody if they mention it, but it does show that you care. Just my 2 cents here. Now, coming back to some folks that do care, because there are still some awesome questions that I want to get to. John Badgley asks, what is your confidence level 1 to 10 to find a master groomer versus a beginner or intermediate for your studio?
Melinda, do you want to take this one or do you want me?
I was like, I do want to say I do have a hire that I don't know if she's a master groomer. I know she was a competitive groomer and she shows a poodle, so super talented. So I'm just not understanding my confidence level on finding a master groomer. If that's what I wanted, I could find it. My confidence on, so I'm not understanding the question because like depending on what I wanted, I'm confident I could find whatever I want because my business is, people want to come work here. Like we have a good environment. I do think finding a master groomer though will probably be a little bit more challenging than a beginner. I think the intermediates are probably, I'm going to say the most challenging to onboard because they sometimes aren't pliable and willing to learn. The beginners are usually like eager for the opportunities. Brandy, what's your take on it?
Um, the master groomers, to me, that would be the hardest one to find. You're going to have much more luck finding the beginner and the intermediate. And honestly, most of us in the salon day in and day out are not doing those grooms that a certified master groomer such as myself could do. Back in the day, I'm going to age myself here. When I learned to groom dogs back in 1995, we did have a lot of purebred dogs. People did have that American Cocker Spaniel with the skirt to the floor, and we would set the bevels in. They would want the hand scissored Bichon Frise with the crest on the back of the neck, and we would set in the rear angulation on the back legs. That's fallen out of fashion now. Most pet owners want their dogs cute and fluffy and adorable and easy to take care of. And honestly, your beginner to your intermediate groomer are going to be able to do what, probably 90 to 95% of your client requests are going to be. Now, if you can find a master groomer, great, but you're not in the average salon. That master groomer's extra set of skills with hand stripping and show trims are probably not going to be utilized on a day-to-day basis.
All right, we got three more. And by the way, for all my friends in Nashville that say that Nashville used to be this quaint small town, those were some pretty fancy dog names for a quaint small southern town. All right, we got three
I
more.
was like, that was Brandy's nice way of saying we groom 70% doodles.
Yeah.
You groom pets. We all groom pets. And yes, a lot of them are doodles. They're here to stay. Embrace them, I say. Charge
Yep,
your happy
yep. We
price.
just, yeah. I
Charge your
mean,
happy
they're just,
price.
I love
They're
the
good.
doodles.
All right. John Badgley wants to know, do you normally hire W-2, 1099, or corp to corp? And how are you handling benefits?
W-2,
Mhm.
W-2. Benefits, we do currently do not offer health insurance, which is a bummer, and I'm trying to fix it. But the benefits that we do include is we do include PTO, pay for all sharpening, tool allowance, uniforms, and all consumable products in the salon. Oh, and retail, we give all of our employees like food credit because we want our team to be able to help us promote our products. So therefore, we want them to feed their pets our products. So but I don't think 1099 is legal for most groomer salons.
That that I would actually like to weigh in on because I am, I have groomed for so long, and back when I did learn to groom, you did see 1099. And now we have realized a lot of times a 1099 employee is a way of circumventing payroll tax, and it is not legal in a lot of cases. And what can happen is the employee can submit an SS8 determination to the Internal Revenue Service. And if they are determined to actually have been an employee, then you will have to pay all that payroll tax plus some penalties and fines. Um, there are some situations where you can have a groomer working for you and them not be your employee, but in that situation, you're typically going to be a landlord. You are not going to set their hours. You are not going to set their schedule. You are not going to answer the phone. You're not going to set their price. You're not going to dictate how many dogs per day they do. You're not going to supply their shampoo. All you're basically going to be is just a landlord. And you have to be very, very careful how you set that up, because if there's anything that you're doing that could be perceived as you directing their work, then you're an employer and it's not a subcontractor situation. So be very, very careful with it. 9 times out of 10, it's a W-2 situation.
I was like, we talked about onboarding and setting clear expectations. They need to be a W-2.
Mhm.
Kind of on the same note, actually. Leonardo asks, when having 1099ers, which business insurance do you get to cover them? Is there any for employers? Would workers' comp? What about 1099s?
If they are 1099, you are not paying workman's comp on them because they are not your employee. Your insurance does not cover them. Your insurance does not cover their activities. None of that. If you're looking at insurance or workman's comp, you're looking at an employee.
What she said.
All right. Well, we're coming to the last question of the night, my favorite one. I saved this one for last. Carmela wants to know, I think Melinda, this one's targeted at you. What other perks do you offer to make you a great place to work?
I'm fun. First off, I'm the most fun person you'll ever meet in your life. You'll
Can
never
confirm.
forget me. So the perks that I offer is, the food credit is a big one. So I let them stack that with their employee discount. I do offer PTO, which, as Brandy said, within the grooming industry is unfortunately not super common. I do pay hourly with a revenue bonus. It was something that I have a groomer that has been paid commission for 10 years. She was terrified to make the change. And I admire that she says, this is the place I will retire at, because having that hourly pay helps her when we are a little bit lighter or have some cancellations or things like that. I provide all tool sharpening, which is huge for groomers. So, every 5 to 6 weeks, we have a sharpener come to the salon. I don't limit what they need sharpened, it just happens for them. I also do offer continuing education. I don't want to say all expenses paid, but like I will pay for their seminar registrations as well as their hotel for all employees in good standing. And we go to a different trade show once a year. So I think we went to Pet Quest before, then we went to RW Groomex, and we haven't decided where we're going this year. I'm thinking I'm going to take them to All American. Probably shouldn't have said that on this recording because then they're going to see it and they're all going to beg to go to All American. But I take my team to a trade show or an education at least once a year. So, bottom line, through all of this, I invest in my team. You know, they come to me and they're like, "Hey, we need this." I get it for them. You know, like I invest in them. I invest in the equipment they need. You know, I treat them like people, not a number. You know, I value them. So I think that's why they love working with me. I I wish I should invite them on one day and they could tell you why they love working for me. Um, but no, it's I think it's all the perks that we really offer um, is why we have a good team.
Say it louder for all the future business owners in the back. All right.
Take care of your team. Take care of
Mhm.
your team.
Yeah.
Y'all, that wraps up our Q&A portion of tonight's webinar. I hope everybody attending or viewing took away a few new helpful strategies to help with your hiring process in 2026 and beyond. For the folks who asked in the chat, we will be sending you an email with the recording as part of the follow-up, so everybody's going to have access to it. Now, if you'd like to learn more about Paragon Pet School or see Mogo in action, you can scan the barcodes on your smartphone on the screen right now. We'll also include follow-up links with these in our post-webinar email we send you. This was our biggest webinar that we've definitely done since I've started hosting these, so I want to thank everybody again for joining us. Please come back next month. We'll be teaming up with the Dog Gurus to deep dive into critical metrics to help run a successful pet resort. Wishing everybody a great evening and an efficient and profitable 2026.
Moco.